Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students of class 9th, this is your chapter, the Medina Charter. Now we will discuss about this, that what is Medina Charter. As you already have studied in your Islamiyat book that there is Misake Medina. So the charter is any written agreement between two parties. This Medina Charter was the written agreement by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to form an ideal state of Medina. The first paragraph of this chapter is when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was migrated to Medina, the city was inhabited by different sections of people. जब आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने मदीना हिजरत की तो इस शहर में मुख्तलिफ़ तबक़ात आबाद थे. They were the faithful followers of Muhammad सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. वो आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के जानसार साथी थे. Who had abandoned the ties of kith and kin, जिन्होंने करीबी रिश्तेदारों को छोड़ा and followed him और आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की पैरवी की. They were known as मुहाजिरीन और refugees, जिन्हें मुहाजिरीन या refugees कहा जाता था. Okay, dear students, when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was migrated to Medina from Mecca, there were people who also had migrated with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam towards Medina, and in Medina they had no home and they have nothing with them because they have left their everything in Mecca. So when they migrated to Medina, they were just muhajirin or refugees there because they had abandoned or they had left everything for the sake of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they empty-handed migrated to Medina with Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, the continuation of paragraph 1. The new converts of Medina who had helped the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam through thick and thin. मदीना के नए इस्लाम कबूल करने वाले जिन्होंने आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम का हर मुश्किल वक्त में साथ दिया, were known as Ansar helpers. उन्हें अंसार या मददगार कहते थे. The other communities living in Medina were the idol worshippers and Jew. मदीना में उस वक्त रिहाइश पजीर दूसरी कौमियतें यहूदी और बुत परस्त थे. Now you have seen in these two paragraphs when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated from Makkah to Medina, the people who followed him towards Medina were called muhajirin or refugees. In this first paragraph, the second half, you can see that those people who were the inhabitants of Medina and helped Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those were called Ansar or helpers, and a few other groups were living in Medina as well, and they were the idol worshippers and Jews. Now you have seen that the different sections were inhabited in Medina. Okay, the paragraph 2. In order to create harmony and cooperation, लोगों के बीच में हम आहंगी और तावन को पैदा करने के लिए the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam first abolished the tribal distinction. आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने सबसे पहले कबायली तफरक़ात को ख़त्म किया and grouped the inhabitant of Medina under one general name Ansar or helpers, और मदीना के तमाम लोगों को एक नाम के तहत इकट्ठा किया जो कि अंसार या मददगार था. Okay, now you have seen here that for the creation of an ideal Islamic state, what the Prophet ﷺ did there, that he abolished the tribal distinction because the Arab were distributed in different tribes. So the Prophet ﷺ first finished all these distinction, all these differences, and he grouped all the people of Medina under one whether they belong to whether they belong to the good caste or bad, or they were the poor or they were the rich people, but they were just helpers or ansars. Okay, the paragraph 2 continuation. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew that goodwill and support of all sections of people were necessary for the creation of an Islamic state. आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम जानते थे कि गुडविल यानी नेक ख्वाहिशात एंड सपोर्ट और मदद या तावन ऑफ ऑल सेक्शन ऑफ पीपल, तो लोगों के तमाम तबक़ात की नेक ख्वाहिशात और तावन वर नेसेसरी ज़रूरी हैं फॉर द क्रिएशन ऑफ एन इस्लामिक स्टेट, एक इस्लामी रियासत के क़याम के लिए। आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम जानते थे कि तमाम तबक़ात का तावन और नेक ख्वाहिशात एक नई इस्लामी रियासत के क़याम के लिए ज़रूरी है। ही न्यू दैट द टॉलरेंस वाज नेसेसरी व्हेन डिफरेंट कम्युनिटीज़ लिव टुगेदर। आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम जानते थे कि जब मुख्तलिफ़ कौमियतें इकट्ठी रहती हैं तो बर्दाश्त ज़रूरी होती है। विद दिस ऑब्जेक्टिव इन माइंड, इस मकसद को जहन में रखते हुए द प्रॉफिट सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ड्राफ्टेड अ चार्टर। आप सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने एक माहिदा तरतीब की दिया विच इज़ जनरली नोन एज मदीना चार्टर, जिसे आमतौर पर मीसाक मदीना के नाम से जाना जाता है। ओके डियर स्टूडेंट्स, इन दिस पैराग्राफ you will come to know that if there are living different communities or nationalities or groups within a one state, so the tolerance is very important for there. Only then they can be able to live together. And the Prophet ﷺ knew very well this, that the different sections like Ansars, like Muhajirin, like idol worshippers, like Jews, all these sections were living in Medina. So the tolerance and the goodwill is necessary to create an Islamic empire, to create an empire, or to create a state. It is very essential that they must be tolerant towards each other. So by keeping all these objectives in mind, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam drafted a charter that is known as Medina Charter, and this charter consists of many points that would expected to be helpful for the creation of an ideal state. The main points of this charter are: all the communities signing the charter would form a common nationality. वो तमाम कौमियतें जो इस मिसाक पर दस्तखत करेंगी एक आम कौमियत तश्कील देंगी। इफ़ एनी सिग्नेटरी ऑफ द चार्टर वाज अटैक्ड बाय एन एनिमी, इस माहदे पर दस्तखत करने वाला कोई भी शख्स जिस पर अगर दुश्मन ने हमला किया, others would defend him collectively, तो बाकी सब मिलकर उसका मुकाबला करेंगे। द मुस्लिम्स, मुसलमान, द Jews, यहूदी एंड अदर communities और तमाम दूसरे तबक़ात of this republic should be free to profess their own respective religion and perform religious ceremonies. और तमाम दूसरे लोग इस ममलिकत के अंदर आज़ाद होंगे to profess their own respective religion, कि वो अपने मुतल्लिक़ मज़हब के फ़राइज़ की अदायगी करें and perform religious ceremonies, और अपनी मज़हबी रस्मात अदा करें। Okay, the first point of tolerance was when there were different communities, like Jews have different occasions, they have different belief and faith systems. The Muslims had different, idol worshippers had different. So it was very much necessary to create a harmony among them. So they must be tolerant towards each other. So the first point is that if any signatory was attacked by an enemy, all would defend them collectively. So this was the point of living together was very necessary. And the other is to profess their own religion, because they all had different religions. So the Prophet ﷺ announced them that they can profess their respective religions, and they can also celebrate their own religious ceremonies or any ceremonies. Okay, paragraph 3, continuation. Individual and personal offences of trivial nature of any non-Muslim would be treated as such, as no general liability would fall on the common community to which the offender belonged. Individual ज़ाती and personal, individual शख्सी और personal ज़ाती offences of trivial nature, पुरानी नोयत के शख्सी और ज़ाती जो जराइम थे of any non-Muslim, किसी भी गैर मुसलमान के, would be treated, उसके साथ इस तरह से सलूक किया जाएगा as such as no general liability, कि आम तौर पर यह ज़िम्मेदारी आयद नहीं होगी, would fall on the community, उस तबके के ऊपर to which the offender belonged, जिसके साथ जुर्म करने वाला ताल्लुक़ रखता था। The oppressed should be protected, that किसी भी दबे हुए या किसी भी पसमानदा शख्स की मदद की जाएगी। and henceforth bloodshed, murder and violence should be haram in Medina, और इसके अलावा bloodshed, खून बहाना, murder, कत्ल करना, and violence और तशद्दुद करना should be haram और abominable in Medina, मदीना में हराम होगा। all the disputes should be referred to decision to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Prophet of Allah, और तमाम अमूर के या तमाम झगड़ों के फ़ैसले करने के लिए या तमाम अख्तलाफ़ात के फ़ैसले करने के लिए नबी करीम सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के की तरफ भेजा जाएगा. In this last half of third paragraph, you have seen that there were individual and personal offenses. There were when there was no when there was no Islam, then when there was no preaching of Islam, the people who were living in the old societies in Arab, they were the bad doers. And when any offender belonged to any community, and if he commit any offense, all of the community were thought to be responsible for such offense. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared that if anyone is guilty or anyone commit any offense, if any non-Muslim would commit any sin, or if commit any illegal thing, the community should not be responsible for the misconduct of that person. And if any person is oppressed and not given with the rights, he should be protected in the state of Medina. And the bloodshed, murder, and violence were all the means of violence in the society, and the mean of shattering peace in the society. So they all these sins declared abominable or haram in Medina. And there was a need of the time that there must should be somebody who can decide for them, and who can decide for their disputes. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was decided as a person or as a leader of that community who should solve all the disputes of the society. So the decision maker was Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.